You are watching the Wayne Coito Show, and it is Wednesday. It is Hump Day. It is the middle of the week where we get to reflect on what just happened on another great weekend of Hawaii sports. And if you're talking right now, everything is about the men's volleyball team at the University of Hawaii, who is headed to the national championships next week in Columbus, Ohio. And I will be there too, following them. And it makes sense, right? Because if you're looking at the screen right now, and you're like, who is that little Hawaiian kid and his blonde-haired friend next to him? Alas, you would be correct, and that is myself in 1995, supporting a guy we're going to bring on the show tonight and his Rainbow volleyball team, a program that has been, through a lot of ups and downs, but in Hawaii, a team that has had a spot in our culture, our sports culture, for decades. As you can see on the screen, that's me as a little kid in the 1996 Rainbow Men's Volleyball Guide. That's a very, gosh, how do I describe that year, 1996? Because there was some heartbreak there, as a lot of you remember. But the man, Yuval Katz, you see him right there on the screen, a guy that really set the tone at the University of Hawaii, and in terms of this talent from Israel, and he brought his friend Eyal Zamet along eventually, and we started these pipelines. And speaking of Eyal, and Eyal was on the team with guys named Tony Ching and Kimo Tuye and Vernon Palusi, one of the greatest liberos to ever play the game as well. But in 2002, the team finally got over that hump. So let's see if you remember this. Make sure I play it first.
5 points, 5 chances for national championship honors. And Mike Wilton, Tino Reyes, Aaron Wilton. This could be it right here. Hawaii for its first win with a block. No, it's a free ball for the win. There are Reeves. He's got it! And Hawaii has won the national championship!
What a moment that was for me personally, but for the whole state of Hawaii, to be able to have the boys bring home a title. State College, Pennsylvania. I was there that night. I took a Greyhound and a couple trains from my college, Vassar College, where I was in the men's volleyball team there as well. Our season was over by this point in the EIVA, but to go back to Penn State and see them get to play my home team, the Warriors, or actually on that court and win that national championship over Pepperdine was a really cool thing for me as well. But as some of you know, that title was stripped, and that obviously was something that, or has been a little bit of a mark on this program, we could say. But at the same time, how remarkable for this team to have had a certain level of success. And one of the guys that really started that trend of success, a guy that his name is still talked about in Hawaii, and his name is still mentioned in a lot of Hawaii circles because of what he did, not just on the court, but off the court. Supermodel, an actor, a guy you've probably seen on HBO, you've probably seen somewhere, and that's Jason Olive. And I'm going to bring him in right now, and that's our boy Jason Olive. Mahalo for joining us today, Jason. Well, as you you are a volleyball nerd. I mean, I think that's easy to call because you have not left the game, and you are a guy that loves to teach the game, coach the game, and I know love to watch the game. And your team, your old boys, they're in the NCAA Championships, and I'm sure it brings a flood of memories. But talking about this 2021 squad, what do you look forward to with this team in particular? About this 2021
lineup until he found something that clicked. And that's what good coaches do. And there are some great coaches coaching men's volleyball right now. I mean, everybody's breathing a huge sigh of relief. Wait, I haven't even seen it. Is Long Beach in or out? Oh, I can't hear you, Wayne. Can't hear you. No, I can't hear you yet. I think they're out though.
About that, I'm sorry about. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
UCSB. Sorry about our audio issues as well. We're using some new equipment here, and I'm doing this. So mahalo Bradley, our sponsor, who is out there, my friend, who is graciously keeping in touch with us, and Jenny out there. Aloha, Jenny. She says her heart is bursting seeing Jason Olive out there. But you can continue, Jason. I know Jason asked whether Long Beach was in it, and I believe it's just UCSB and Pepperdine, I think, are the only two.
Pepperdine, right? Pepperdine got in. So that's what I was thinking, but everybody's breathing a huge sigh of relief that Alan Knight is not in the playoffs, right? I mean, it almost doesn't even matter what group of guys that coach is coaching. I actually, had the honor of playing against him. I think that was my freshman year. The guy was just masterful. I actually played on the beach with Jason Stimfig, who was a guy that we grew up playing together. Well, not together, but on the same beaches basically growing up. So I was always seeing, he would play a lot with his dad, which was always awesome to watch. But I grew up watching him play and really loving his beach game. And then when I got out of college, we played a little bit on tour together. But that team, with Knight was so solid. It was incredible. I think Whitcomb was on that team, and they were incredible. And again, huge oppo, like every Final Four team is going to have a really good oppo, right?
Of course.
So
it's like Rado this year for UH. Yep. And UV, all that. Those opposites have been a mainstay.
Down the line. Yeah, you look down the line, and it was kind of like my generation where you had Tom Sorensen, you had all these guys coming through, Scott Fortune, you had all these guys in that oppo position just getting more and more and more important. Mark Prescio was the stick, which is something we call the oppo sometimes, the stick when, I was a young player, incredibly heavy ball, right? And some good teams that just never seem to crack the bubble in terms of getting out of playoffs, but some really good teams. So, but your middle play becomes incredibly important because you're only going to win with defense, right? Yeah. So you in that sense, having the middle destabilize the other imbalance, the other defense, right? And then being able to maintain balance on your side with the movement to the ball. The one thing that worries me about that game is how little they used a middle that was hitting so well, right? So Hawaii is going to have to figure out very quickly how to talk to their setter, get him more confident, and basically very quickly sink in his head how you win big games, right? You do not win big games by not trusting your hitters. When you watch a setter go away from your left side hitter 25 feet behind him for the match, that's one of the worst sets in Hawaii history, right? Because of what it says to the entire team. Right, you're on the guy, he's your left side hitter, and you go, now I'm going 25 feet backwards to a guy maybe at that point barely hitting positive, right? Because I got news for you. When you get to the Final Four, it does not matter what your name is, right? Nobody's backing down. Nobody cares. You're either beating the ball up or you're not, right? And that has to be a very quick game time alteration, right? It has to, the coaching staff, the setter, they have to realize, listen, it's not going to be a guy's night every night. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that guy that's not having the night might be your number one, or it might be your number two, right? So that was kind of what worried me, is that you're seeing that at, you know, this such a pivotal position that you're seeing a ball, you know, the ball continually forced to a guy that it's just not his night. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And there's so many other talented, big hitters, fantastic attackers on that team, right? You would just like to see, hey, a timeout and that conversation had, and the ball start flowing other places. And also, you know, for a hitter, let me put it this way, if you lose the belief that your setter trusts you, your night is just over, right? Mm-hmm. It just, you know, it's very hard to concentrate or have confidence in the rest of your game when you see that kind of thing going on. When you see Hawaii play with confidence, it's because they're playing with grit, right? So you always have to play with that grit and that warrior mindset, which has been a wonderful thing to see restored to the program, because it disappeared for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so I think for us alumni, that's one of the things that we're most excited about, is it seems like, you know, to a large extent, that culture of warrior volleyball, Hawaii volleyball, wiping the floor with your shirt, nothing touches the ground without a body touching the ground, you know, a culture that cares deeply about ball control. All of those things have returned. You know, we've seen the wins and the postseason success from that, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen that over the last couple of years. Look, without that, maybe they're not even in it anymore, without what they've done over the last 2 years. But it's to a point where the core of these guys have performed so well over the last couple of years. You know, you can't deny that they definitely deserve to be in the tournament, because we all know if there's a chance to deny Hawaii, we will be denied.
Well, I mean, when you look at the format, it was easier to deny Hawaii, right? Back then, I mean, they were only picking a Final Four, and they're only picking one team, right? Only one at large. So when you look at that criteria, and if you applied it to today, there's probably a good chance that Hawaii could have been left out.
Going back, even some of the, you know, my favorite Hawaii team of all time, which was Alan Allen's last year, which was the team I signed my recruitment letter watching. I just never seen volleyball played like that. You know, and the makeup of the team, of course, right, was just like unlike any other team. I was actually watching them back then. You know, the coach was Rose Hill, and then Tony Crabb, who was also the technical coach working with the U.S. team, came out and played LMU, and that team was one of the most exciting teams I've ever seen volleyball, still to this day, play. And you know, I think what happened was the story was that, again, amazing oppo Carlos Brasinho played in a beach tournament. I think they handed him a shirt and a ball, and he went home, and someone turned it in as accepting prizes. Oh, right. Wow. Because back then you couldn't take anything, so it was like $50, and they bounced the team out of the tournament. Crazy. And they were amazing. That was the team that, you know, I think it was the world's, I know it was NCAA longest game, but I think it might have been the world's longest game at that point, when they played Pepperdine inside Clum Gym, and you had the Punahou boys, the Riggs, were both at Pepperdine, and it was just. I mean, you're watching a team from California and a team from Hawaii, but really, I think what it really was an inter-island grudge match. It was like a fight in an alley, you know? And it was I mean, if anybody has a chance, that game, if you want to watch one of the most amazing volleyball games ever played, It's online, and it's Pepperdine versus Hawaii. That must have been 90. And in Clum Gym, I think it was 5 hours and something.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, it was over. I know it was over 5. But yeah, that was an incredible game. I mean, things that in athletic plays that you just don't really see anymore, you know. I think at one point, Allen passes the ball over his shoulder, spins 360 and hits a 1. And he hit it so straight down that it didn't even matter that it was out of bounds. The game was over. It's like everyone's just in shock. Like it was over. Like even though the ball was out of bounds, it was like, okay, it's over.
Wow. Well, you're talking about Allen.
Like that, I mean, stuff like that. You got guys that lineage, these young guys that got to know the lineage of what they're representing. You can't walk out there and do what you did with UC San Diego. The first year UC San Diego was a Division I team. Okay, this is a great story for everybody listening. There's juju, right? There's juju out there. Different teams have different juju. Hawaii never loses to Santa Barbara. That used to be the juju. Like they just couldn't beat us. I don't care. You had the 3-time gold medalist, Todd Rogers. Didn't matter. You weren't beating us, right? Never lost to him. Never lost to him. But a weird one is UCSD. And this goes back to the first time UCSD was ever a Division I team. And we played them, and we had to travel. We traveled to UCSD.
Well, NCAA team. I mean, they're still, they only became Division I. But I think you mean the volleyball team itself was playing in the MPSF. Yeah. Okay. I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. This was
the school itself was still because the school itself was still D3, I think, until recently, and then it went to, now it's D1. Now they're in the Big West fully, all sports. But I think back then only men's volleyball was playing in the MPSF, but they were a Division III school still. I don't think they had
first year of any sport. No. I mean, my sister went to UCSD.
Oh, okay.
You go to third college to learn how to,
I thought men's volleyball though, weren't they in the? They were MPSF, right?
Or something. Yeah. What's that?
They were MPSF, correct? So all of you were all in the MPSF, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But this was their first year.
Oh, okay.
This was their first year that they got it, and I think I was a redshirt freshman. And we go there because I had just started kind of playing a little bit. I don't know if I was starting yet, but I know I was on the bench when this play happened. And so long story short, okay, we're like number 5 in the country or something. We're top 10 for sure. And we are in game 5 against UCSD.
Wow.
And losing this game would devastate our season, right? And so we're in game 5, and UCSD has this kid from Hawaii, Lanson Lum, and he is destroying us, just like the kid at UCSD that match. Right, the left side. I don't know. I think he was a left side hitter. Right, I kept blocking on his name, and no one knows anything about him because, of course, we never watched any tape. This was supposed to be over an hour ago. Yeah. Right. And he's just killing us. And it is old school scoring. Right. They are up. So last game to 15, right? So old school rules, you're playing to 15. They're up 14-13. And they serve, transition, set Lansom, goes up. Our block is just huge. He goes up, roll shots over the block. Larson Villama, who people will remember, one of the hardest hitters in the history of volleyball, such a cool dude. He goes, sprawls out, pancakes the ball, screams up. We play it out, side out, get like the next 4 points, get on the bus, go home with the win. Here's the thing. Larson missed that ball by about 1.5 feet.
Really? He just called it ball.
He
was
missed
like, ball.
the ball and screamed up. And no one, including the ref, could believe that UCSD could beat Hawaii. And we scored the next 4 points, got on the bus and went home. Got on the bus, went to the airport, got on the plane. And I think we ran for like a month and a half after that.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
You know, and so I say all this stuff not out of critique, but out of wisdom. You know, been there against a team like that where you just, you know, you just don't feel like you have to show up. And you know, as you get older, you realize how disrespectful that is, right? How disrespectful that is. Forget the fans, forget yourself, to the game, right?
Yes.
The respect that we owe is the respect to the game, and you can never disrespect the game. The game will grab you and take you into the deep end and fill your lungs with water, brother. It is no joke. And when you get into this rarefied air, okay, that funnel gets tighter and tighter and tighter. So I think if these guys go out there and remember to be grateful for the opportunity, remember to be grateful for the position that they're in, surrounded by such great players, right? That they could be here on this kind of stage, and all of the work that goes into it, from everybody, from the ball boys to the NCAA, or how did you even make this season happen? You have to give guys back their COVID year. You got to find money. You got to find, you know, you got to, hopefully you can get on a plane and have your seat, all the stuff that went in. I think that if our guys can remember everything that it took to get to this moment and play with that gratefulness and respect, I think they get the ring. I think they're good enough. I think they're good enough to do it.
Well, we've seen, you know, like you said, we've had heartbreak. We've had teams maybe not respecting the game, players not respecting. I know for me, as a former player, I remember those moments that I didn't put in everything, that I still to this day regret, maybe not making the right move, not even putting that effort. And some of those things can stay with you forever. Like you said, you get sucked into that game. That game will remind you of that for the rest of your life. But this team has had some heartbreak, and but at the same time, to get to the level that they are at right now, and for Hawaii to be an elite program, you needed to start from somewhere. And you talked about, you know, in your recruiting trip, Hawaii maybe wasn't an elite program yet, because 1995 was the first time that the team ever appeared, right, in the Final Four.
Right. Well, right. That was the first time we went to the Final Four. And look, when my recruiting year, Hawaii gave money to two people, myself and Lee LeGrand. Lee LeGrand ended up moving on, and he was the first player who was good enough to put Irvine on the map, actually. Irvine was not on the radar until Lee LeGrand showed up there. And that started that push, you know. But, you know, my thing was that in recruiting, when I saw Hawaii, you know, those schools that were recruiting me, because I also got recruited for football, but like volleyball, it was the only team I saw with any brown people on it.
Yeah.
You know, including my high school team. you know, I went to
watching that 2002 game against Pepperdine, that was kind of shocking to me too, watching Pepperdine. I mean, of course, I love you, James Kahn, and everybody else that, you know, went over there from Hawaii, but I mean, I was like, wow, that team is not as diverse as our team, but you know, I guess that's the game as well.
Well, the sport, the men's sport is and continues to be, you know, suffer from a lack of diversity, for sure. It's you know, much better on the women's side, but still not where it should be once you get to the Olympic level. I mean, at some point, you know, the sport has to come to grips that its soul is not as clean as it should be. Right. And it never has been. There's been so much stuff that's happened, from Dexter Rogers, right? Dexter Rogers getting kicked off the men's team. Dexter Rogers, listen, I played in the first jump serve generation. And what I mean by that, if you go back and you look through all the playing tape and all that kind of stuff, it was during those years, those early 90s years, where all of a sudden you had to have 2-3 guys jump serve.
Yeah.
Right. You had to have it. Then even by the time I graduated, you had to have 4 or 5 guys with a really decent jump serve, and the jump float started showing up more. But if you go back and you watch those games, even like my early freshman games, I go back and watch them, and you got guys standing on the ground, float serving from, 30 feet behind the line. And
I mean, those are difficult to pass, though. I mean, those balls will come with so much movement.
It is. Hey, it's not an art to be, put down at all. But the game grew to the point where you had to jump serve to win, right? And the guys that were the leaders of that were Sato and Dexter Rogers. I mean, Dexter Rogers basically jump serves the U.S. team into the Olympics.
Wow.
And then get sat down and told, man, you know what? You don't really fit the picture, right? You don't fit the picture. And that is one of the saddest things that has ever, you really ever heard of in volleyball. But it just has continued. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to go play for somewhere, I want to play for Hawaii because, they obviously don't have a problem, creating a level playing field, which is truly all it is. Is the playing field level or not, and that team, so yes, my goal was to win a championship. We fell short, but definitely feel very good in the sense of being able to help the team reach a Final Four. But I still say that team of Alan and Damian and Carlos and Van Sickle and Papinga and Lyman LaCroix, the craziest setter I've ever seen in my life, well, you had both Papingas on that team, and then I know I'm forgetting some people, which is just awful. I'm forgetting the left side hitter. So good.
I know we had some Clem historians in there.
Someone posted, someone put it on there. But that team, I would definitely one of the best Hawaii team. So take the love for getting to the Final Four first, but in terms of the great Hawaii teams, we're up there. We're in the top 3.
Definitely.
But I think in terms of creating the culture, in terms of creating that rock star feeling, I mean, look, so that all came, that whole thing that led into the 10,000 fans and the world record and all that. First of all, there was a stadium built. Everybody wants to go to a new stadium. So that's there, right? But I almost left that season. Like, a lot of people don't know, I was kicked off the team
really
at the end of the 94 season. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And that was a very difficult thing to go through, and I was gone. I had called Stanford, and I was basically in, they didn't have it back then, but I was basically in the transfer portal, which was which was the telephone back then, right? My parents were calling and, had worked out some money from Stanford, and I was going in the AD, Kaya Headland at the time. She called me in and said, listen, I heard about this. We don't want you to go. And I was like, well, I'm not playing under these conditions anymore. I was just, listen, I did not go there to play for Wilton. I did not want to play for Wilton. I did not feel that he was respectful of me or the work that I was putting in. And I just didn't need it. So I was going to take me and my thing and just go. And earlier that year, right, I was all over the world on buildings and things like that from the fashion sense. So it was a public thing. I mean, there wasn't the social media. At the time.
Can you imagine if there were?
It wasn't explosive as it would be now.
You would be the million Instagrammer guy. That would be Jason Aller for sure.
Kaya was like, you're not leaving. Like, you're not leaving. And so what happened was that they said, listen, we're going to take his control away from him. away. You're not going to be, well, how are you going to do that? You're going to give up your scholarship and we're going to give you a football scholarship, which was turned into an English scholarship. So I said, okay. So that means I don't, you know, so basically I didn't have to go to practice. Right. And when I said, okay, that money was the money that was used with UV. Right. So that money, right. So it was basically an entire school working together, right. Working together to say, you know what, we're not going to let this go down this way. Right. And so I appreciated that. But, you know, as far as me listening to a word they had to say, that wasn't going to happen. And what happened was we got a whole bunch of guys who learned to play on their own on the court. And there was nothing more powerful than that. And of course, UV was already a pro. He didn't want to hear from anybody. You know, half the practices he was icing because he had 60 swings a game, and you know it wasn't. I mean, seriously. I mean, he's the real.
There was like 50 kill games.
I need to practice. Yeah. No, UV don't need to practice, man. He's been swinging that ball since he was 5 years old. He don't need to practice, and we were fine with that because you have to have both sides, right? Like if you watch the Jordan thing, right? One of my favorite parts about that Jordan biography, right? Is when I think it was a press guy comes to talk to Phil Jackson about what's his Rodman.
And he's
Rodman. Saying, well, it's a problem because he's not here and he's late, and then and Phil's like, what? He gets 14 rebounds a quarter. Like what are you talking about, right? And the team was fine with that. You have to have both, right?
Well, Rodman had to give. He went to Jordan's door to ask for a cigar or something, and that was the, oh, okay, we're boys now or something. That was Michael Jordan's way of saying I accepted him because he told me. But I know that's probably Rodman put up the numbers. He put up the numbers.
Wayne, listen. I was playing in the Nationals for Outrigger. Okay, I was playing in the Nationals. This was like 90. It was somewhere between that summer of 95 and 97, and it was in Texas. Okay. And so we play and then we all go out that night. Right. And we walk into a club and there's this huge line inside the club. Okay. And we're like, what's going on? And finally we get through. And when you get to where the line is stopped, it's a red rope. And inside the red rope in like this 10 by 10 private VIP thing, it was Rodman. Sitting in this big chair, smoking cigars, you know, girls, crazy. Dude, it was like 1:30 a.m., 2 o'clock, and he was playing the next day in the playoffs in LA.
Oh, wow. Dennis Rodman, wow. Was Carmen Electra there too?
Dennis Rodman forgets tennis shoes. Right? Right. So, but the team was like, who cares? And our team by 95, okay. And when I say learning lessons the hard way, you know, I had to watch guys lose their senior games. I had to watch teams disintegrate. I had to watch teams implode on each other to learn how to be a leader and to learn how to let the little things go on my end. And also reach deep into questioning what mattered to me. And what mattered to me was my original commitment that I made to the college, right? And deciding that nobody was going to take that away from me. No situation was going to take away the love that I had for Hawaii, who gave me the opportunity, who surrounded me with you know, this loving staff that I had for 3 years, who were like putting a lot of work into grooming me, right? And it was just so grateful. And it wasn't easy, man. These guys, I mean, the words that were said, I'm sure someone would probably like, you know, be kicked, you know, be suspended for talking to players that way. You know, I mean, the stuff that was said. But one of the things that happened was we played Nitai, and one of the coaches with Nitai, Masa-san, he came over, and what a character, okay? But he decided that he was going to coach me, right? And more than anything, what he taught me was how to deal with my ego and the egos around me.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have to decide whether you're going to play on a team and trust your teammates, or if you can't get to the trust, then you know what, you should probably just leave. Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no use being in the middle. And that was a really fortuitous thing for me. And, you know, when I had to make that decision of whether to take off or to come back for that 95 season, those were the words that kept ringing in my ear. Like, are you in this for Hawaii? Are you in this for your team? Or are you going to let this coach situation completely derail, you know, kind of like your the things that really matter to you?
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, it was always about playing for Hawaii and really like representing Hawaii. Like when you took the floor, you represented a culture, you represented a people, you know, and it was a different people than if you were at Stanford or you were at Pepperdine or you were at, you know, at any one of these other schools.
Absolutely.
Because I think in the totality of a season, I think that I played against two other teams with like one black guy on it. You know, one was John Bear, who was a good player at Northridge. And like, I struggle for the next one. You know what I mean? It's, you know, and, you know, that's one of the beautiful things of Hawaii is that, you know, that cauldron that gets built with all, you know, all the different nationalities, people, ethnicities, cultures, and learning how to play Hawaii volleyball. These guys, no matter where they're from and whatnot, let's take away the UCSD game. That's upsetting, but hey, man, we take it personal, man. But right. They have been playing Hawaii volleyball, right? Old school. Allen, Damian Hardy, Lockwood, Popinga, volleyball. You know, those were hard. Those are hard as nails teams. So it's good to see that back. When we play like that, we play with anybody in the world. Never mind NCAA. Anybody in the world. You know, they went to Japan. They finally won a few points. You know, it's like, I talked to them before they went to Japan. You know, Josh says, talk to him. I said, well, you want to, you know, you want me, you know, you want me to blow smoke or you want me to tell them the truth? He says, tell them the truth. And I said, okay, look, it was on a big screen, right? In the locker room. We did a telething, right? This was before Zoom, right? And I said, okay, here's the thing. You're going to go over there and you're not going to win a single game. But just don't steal any sunglasses like UCLA and respect and learn. Right. This is true, man. You gotta have the respect. I mean, you know, you get 18-year-olds over in a foreign country, you never know what's gonna happen.
Of course.
So, but Nitaida had come before and wiped the floor with them, and then they went over there. And this last trip, they were able to win a few games. I don't know if they won a match, but they won a few games, and that's big. Because in Japan, these kids are training the purity of the sport from the time they're 7 years old.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When I was introduced to that, when I saw, like, I was a redshirt freshman, so I didn't get to play in the games against Nitaida when Masa came over. I was literally their van driver. And then I would get to play against them in practice.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I know. I still think about that. Like,
that's so weird. Yeah, that is so weird.
18 years old, like, who
driving the other team full of foreign people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
so crazy.
You know, as we say, it was a different time. But I got to play against them in scrimmages, right? In practice. But when I saw Nitaida come out and do their warm-ups for that first game, I looked at my buddy and said, it's over. This is over. Like, we don't have a chance. Because they did this warm-up drill where the coach would jump, hit as high as he can, and there was a digging line coming out of one, okay? The team was like, 14 guys, 15 guys? The ball never touched the ground 2 times through the line.
Wow.
when the drill ended, I mean, the coach caught the ball. Okay, let's go do something else. Because every single dig was perfect, and this coach was jumping and just piping the ball. And I went, oh my God, this is over. This is who has ball control? This is crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it woke you up to, oh, there's an art to this. There's an art. And so this is what Masa said to me. And this is what every volleyball player, athlete, but we're talking volleyball, needs to understand. Right? And this is what he said the levels are. First, beginning, learning. Okay? And then you have proficiency, pretty good. And then you go and you have mastery, right? And then here's what he said. He said, next level. I was like, oh, I always thought mastery was it. He said, no. The next level, final level is entertainment.
Interesting.
Can you go out there and play from your soul and demonstrate? And from that, with all the technique of the mastery, playing in that way, things will happen that people have never seen before, and that's entertainment, right?
Yeah. Can
you play and celebrate and put on a show, right? So what happened in 95, led into 96, obviously I wasn't there in 96, but I'm hearing, people are calling me, yo, we got to be dragged out in ball carts. People are jumping up. Over the tunnel. They're jumping from the tunnel into the tunnel, right? I mean, it was just awesome, right? But that was because, for me, when I decided to come back, I said, you know what? It's not worth to do this at 90% or 99%. You got to do full 100%.
Yeah.
All in every single day. Yeah. All in. Right. And then all of a sudden it became super entertaining. Right. I mean, we also had a guy named Sivan Leone, was like a one-man comedy show. Right.
Everybody remembers him and his tiger headband.
Oh my God. And Kurt Vaughn, he goes home. Yeah. I mean,
well, those years,
I think there was a lot of acid going on, basically.
Those formative years of the Stan Sheriff, I remember having to, during the week, remember they opening the Stan Sheriff to let people in to pick their seat. It was just such crazy that, like you said, that rock star, just everything surrounding the program was so elevated compared to any other Division I program. When I was at Northridge covering the team, there was a girl there and I had to explain, or she was covering Northridge. She's like, I don't understand why there's so much media, like why you're taking the, I'm like, these are rock stars. These boys are legitimate rock stars in Hawaii. And that's a beautiful part about the culture around it, because it brings in so many people. It brings in the rest of the island, and like that culture you talked about that accepted you because of what you did on the floor, and you're always going to be remembered for that, for sure. But we definitely have to ask Jason Olive, because when people talk about Jason Olive, you talk about your job basically, and that was, walking, runways in Europe or doing photo shoots. But a lot of this people don't realize was at the same time as you playing volleyball at UH. And first of all, we can talk about how that is impossible right now, just because of the NCAA
that's
likeness, name and likeness, and now that is starting to change. But before Ed O'Bannon, there was Jason Olive. So talk us through that, your whole, just that experience, but also the NCAA and you as well.
Yeah. So, I had to fight that battle, which was more of a rules battle than a legal battle. It never became a legal battle.
Okay.
But essentially, the ruling was that there was two sides of the ruling. One was that you could not use your status as an NCAA athlete to ingratiate yourself, right? Make money, take prizes. Mom has a new house, whatever it might be, right? At the same time, this is America, and you cannot take somebody's job away from them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I argued was like, look, I was making money doing theatrical stuff before I came to UH, before I accepted a scholarship, before I even started playing volleyball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when the MPSF, you know, the guy over MPSF, the way I heard it from, because I was literally, I got called to Kaya's office and she was on the phone. And she basically hangs up the phone and goes, well, you can do it, right? Because I had this job that I was sitting, the agents wanted me to go do. And I said, really? What happened? She goes, well, I don't know. He was walking to a meeting and he said, yeah, fine, he can go. And so what our argument, I mean, so basically that was the argument that like we had done it before. This isn't, you know, you can't stop me from doing work I did before.
Do you remember what job it was?
Just because I became a, damn right I remember what job it was. Because I got up to leave and she goes, hold on. And on the other line is my agent and he goes, listen, you're on the red eye to LA. I'll see you in LA at 5 a.m.
Wow.
And I go, he goes, you're going to New York. And I go, oh, what am I doing? And he goes, you're shooting Banana Republic with Bruce Weber. And
wow.
And I go,
wow.
Who's Bruce Weber? And he goes, he goes, I'll meet you at the airport with a book. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Right. And so I get on the plane, and mind you, no cell phones, none of that.
Nope.
So I head to the airport, ticket waiting, you know, get to LA. And I told my dad to meet me in LA. And my dad meets me. Now, my dad is born in 1929 in Kentucky. Okay. So my dad is like, what the hell is going on? Why aren't you in school? Aren't you in the middle of your season? Like, you know, and, you know, he's at the airport at 5 in the morning. I go, Dad, I'm going to New York. It's 2 days. I'll come back. And my agent is there. And he's got this book, and my agent is gay, and he's got this book, and at the time I'm studying fine art photography actually at UH, and I'm looking at this book and I go, oh my God, I know who this guy is. He's the guy that shoots all the homoerotic images of really buffed out dudes. Right? And my dad starts looking at this book. And every page he turns, I'm going, he's not going to let me go. He's not going to let me go. Because, like, my mom was, like, always super socially liberal and all that. My dad, not so much. And he looks and I mean, dude, the book is this big, right? It's Bruce Weber. He closes the book. And he goes, how much does this pay? And my agent goes, well, it's $7,500 a day for 2 days. And my dad goes, oh yeah, he can go. You know,
oh, that's a great story. Yeah.
And then it's literally like I show up in New York, like all I remember is dark, but I can't remember if it was daytime. I mean, if it was morning or night. I think it was late night. And you know, you got to find your way to a hotel, and then you're walking through New York, and you get to the studio. It was Industrial Studio, and then I was like, isn't that Kate Moss?
Wow.
My first job.
Wow.
First job. Right?
Wow.
So what the NCAA didn't know, you know, what the MPS was kind of thinking was like, this guy's just a volleyball player in Hawaii. Like, whatever.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
They didn't realize that it was actually all on the other side. It wasn't that the fact that it was the fact that all of these things were going up on skyscrapers. Right, like first 4 campaigns were Banana Republic, Versace. Yeah. Again, I don't know. Oh, I remember the other one because they fired me. I was working for Oak Tree. I was working for Oak Tree, and I missed a meeting. I missed a Saturday meeting because we had a game the night before, and I slept through the alarm, and she fired me. I called out, listen, wait, I go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she goes, don't worry, sweetie. It's okay. I went, oh, thank God, you're fired. Click. I went, oh my God. Oh my God. So then this amazing photographer, Italian photographer, was shooting the campaign for Oak Tree. I wish I could remember his name. Gosh, I think I'll remember in a minute. But anyway, and I'm sitting in Red Rock with the owner of the company, and I go, you know, Mike, I got to tell you a little story. He goes, what? He goes, you fired me. He goes, what? He goes, yeah. And I tell him the story.
That's amazing.
And he goes, well, I guess she's going to be surprised because this is going in every single store in the world. And I go, yeah, she's going to be surprised.
Oh, gosh. I wish you sure you would love to see the look on her face.
I wanna, you know. But anyway, so I had to negotiate that.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, to be objective, you know, Wilton, you know, he had his certain views about that kind of work, and I don't think he liked it. Didn't like me missing practice and all that, you know, kind of stuff. And you know, on the other side, the school is like, dude, the guy is making a name for the school all over the country. Absolutely. And he got a 4.0 and he's an All-American. What more do you want from the kid? So no one can ever convince me that he was on the up and up about that stuff, you know, and that's why I wanted to leave. But so that all that stuff was tied in. So while it was really cool, it was also like really not cool. You know what I mean? And, you know, so, you know, one time we were playing UOP, we were number 2 in the country. They were like just started again. It was like their first year in Division I. And we had a walkthrough, and Bruce wanted me to shoot polo. We were shooting Ralph Lauren. So they called me up and they said, we need you for 2 days. Today, and we had just finished practice, and tomorrow, and then you'll be back. And the game was, you know, that the next following night. And so
you were in California. You were in California.
I was. Yeah, we were at UOP. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I go back and I say, look, my agent Rick, same agent, and I say, Rick, man, I can't do it. You know, they're not going to let me out. I have this walkthrough. It's bullshit, but whatever. What can I do? Because they Wilton said, you're either at the walkthrough or you're done at UH.
To you, just specifically to you.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes. That was a conversation in the hotel room. So I go, okay. I go back. Rick, can't do it. He goes, Jason, this is for over $1 million. This is to become the Ralph Lauren guy. Bruce wants you. I'm calling you back in 10 minutes. Calls me back in 10 minutes. He goes, they will pick you up in a helicopter from the parking lot, fly you back. They've already cleared it. Okay, go back down the hall.
Oh my gosh.
Coach, look, they're coming with the helicopter.
Wow.
I mean, I can, you know, you got to imagine how this sounds on the other end.
But, yeah, right now listening to it.
Okay, wow. So I'll be gone, and look, I just have to miss the walkthrough. Just, you know, that's it.
Yeah.
No. You got to decide what you're going to do. I said, oh my God, dude.
A walkthrough.
Okay. So I tell him back, I said, listen, no, I can't do it. And he says, well, you just made Tyson Beckford a really happy man. I said, Tyson who? Who? And he goes, don't worry, you'll know, you'll see it. And I go, sorry, man, sorry, right? And just no one in that world could understand it.
No,
you know,
I can understand it, and my heart breaks a little for that. But I mean, you still did a lot of amazing things, but that is a great
a lot of amazing things, you know. But it's just, you know, I mean, that's the. You know, that's like I told you when we were texting, I go, there's the story, then there's behind the scenes story, you know, and the behind the scenes story is where, you know, it's, you know, up front is the glory, behind the scenes is the guts, you know, what does it take, you know, what does it take, and the decisions you make and how they affect you, and what means what to you, and, you know, how much does your word really mean, right?
Yeah.
Because I could have got on that helicopter and never come back to you.
Yeah,
ever.
you could have.
And
honestly,
been fine. And been fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But not in my heart. But not in my heart because I wasn't an All-American yet. Right? That was my dream. My dream. Like I felt. Listen, I don't know if this is what it takes because I coach so many kids now, right? Yeah. And like, for me, it's like I would never want to be a college coach. Like I don't even, honestly, right or wrong, I don't even really see that as coaching, right? If you're not teaching a kid how to play this game, by the time they go to college, they already know everything about the game. To me, it's like, yeah, you haven't really coached the kids, right? You should know everything about the game by the time you're 16. From then, everything should just be getting better. That I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about coaching a kid from 8 to 16 and watching them just be stone cold pros. I love that, right? Right now, our oldest kids are 13. They know, like, what's in their brains is crazy. Like, you know, they're basically Division I, Division II high school players. And they're 13. Wow. You know, to me, I'm super, super passionate about that because I have my daughter. I'm super, super passionate about the women's game right now and supporting it and doing everything I can for the women's game. We don't have boys. We just have girls in our club. But so I see it, right? From coaching all these kids, you know, we have about 80 in the club right now. And thinking back on this and moments like that and decisions like that where there was literally nothing you can pay me. And I'm not saying that because it's just a turn of phrase. Yeah. I'm saying literally I was offered 7 figures.
Yeah.
And it wasn't worth it to me because I felt like this might be unhealthy. I don't know. Still trying to figure it out. But I felt like if I did not become a first-team All-American before I left Hawaii, I was a failure. I totally believe it. I believe that so much. Like, I don't even know what would have happened if I had not achieved it. Like, I don't know how I would have dealt with it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So when faced with those decisions and then faced with like getting kicked off the team and all that kind of stuff, the amount that I doubled down, right, or tripled down in some cases for that season was enormous. I mean, to the point I got drug tested twice for steroids. It was like, no, it's not steroids. I literally am in the weight room twice every single day, which sometimes meant 4 practices a day. Wow. Right? Because sometimes we would practice in the morning.
I don't know if you're I mean, just talking about that, not to interrupt, but I had a question from Jenny because she and you talked about that work ethic, and I know I just watched an NBA recently, Julius Randle talking about how Kobe really showed him a work ethic, you know, to be a pro. I don't know if there's anybody that she asked, is there anybody that maybe inspired you the most while you were at UH?
I always thought about it like, God, this is so weird. I literally always thought about it as a culture war. Always. I always thought about it like a culture war. So for me, it was always a culture war. I didn't like when like playing USC, like if you watch us play USC in 1995, and you will see everything that I felt about the game and about where I decided to play and all that at that time. Oddly enough, my nickname in college was the Mamba. Isn't that crazy?
I love it. I love it.
Right.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is predated Kobe, so you are the original Mamba.
I did too, Mark. I used to have a shaved head. So Prescio used to always call me the golden child, because remember that movie had come out about the Mamba? So he used to call me, and the second one was the Mamba. Probably because I was the only black guy, but you know, whatever, I'll take it. Yeah, but you know, so for me, I don't know, in terms of work ethic, it wasn't like looking at a guy and seeing how hard he worked. It was like, we have to win a championship. We have to, like, and it took me 4 years to understand, you know, I mean, to build up to that work ethic, you know what I mean? Is not so much to understand, but it's just like, oh man, this year we only did this. It's going to take more next year. Yeah, we're going to, oh Jesus, dude, we lost first round. It's going to take more. Oh, second round. Oh, it's going to take more. It's going to take literally every single second of the day. Right. And then you got to get lucky. Then you got to get UV. And then you got to get Sean Scott was a huge part. Sean Scott had a lot of body issues going on. He was not going to play that year. I literally went and begged him to play. Wow. Right? I begged him to play. Like went to his room and said, man, there's no way we could do this to you. We also got Nick Berger, who ends up, you know, if you look at who these players ended up, right? When I say you know, to me, that generation of volleyball is one of the greatest generations of volleyball in America, because you look, you got what, a 3-time gold medalist at UCSB. You had, okay, Dane and Fenoy were there my first couple years, so I got to play against them, 2 gold medalists. Then you had, you know, I don't know how many members of the indoor gold medal team on that. I know Lloyd Ball for sure, but I know that U.S. team was a little bit younger.
He might still be playing, actually. He was playing as of like a couple of years ago, Lloyd Ball, before he blew his knee out, right? Was it that finally stopped him at 40 or something?
You're a 6'10" sitter. You don't need knees. You're a 6'10" sitter. Who needs knees? Yeah, we actually got to play against him. I got to play against him in one tournament. We went and played a back east tournament. That was amazing, because you never knew like a setter would dump to the back row. It would just dump over you. Like, it wasn't going down. It was just going deep into one. I was like, what? Who does that? But you know, the Sean Scott, right, becomes, I don't know how many times world champion, Manhattan Beach champion, when he's got his name on the pier, I think at least twice. I don't even know, lost count. Then you have Nick Berger, who becomes the number one for Germany, right? And then you had UV. I mean, you know, it was just an incredible talent in every team like that. Hawaii had, UCLA had, 7 Olympians on their team. They had 6 on the court, and then they had 1 sitting on the bench.
I mean, Fred Robbins was on that team as well, right? I mean,
no, Fred was a little younger. Fred actually used to come practice with us when he was, man, I don't even know if he was in high school. I think Fred might have even been in middle school. He would come and practice with us because Duke and Sean, right? Yeah. Duke and Sean were on the team, and so no, he used to come practice with us when he was little, but he was a little later on. No, but that Hawaii, that UCLA team, that, you know, they were number 1, we were number 2. And that was which was so upsetting about not making that final in '95, was because we were going to get the rematch with him. We just knew we were going to get the rematch, and I thought maybe we had a chance. But every single one of those guys became an Olympian. Every single one, except Neapoli. So okay, no. The one guy who didn't, Paul Neapoli, who just I kind of hate volleyball. All right, he didn't. He became a director. We actually did a film together. He did a film called Beach Kings. All about beach volleyball. Wow. It's amazing. Oh, B-movie classic. Come on.
Okay,
all
Beach
the
Kings,
volleyball's in it. Yeah, it got bought by MGM. It's called. It was originally called Green Flash. They bought it, changed the name to Beach Kings. Everybody's in it. Everybody in the pro beach circuit's in it. Even Al Skates is in it.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. Well, because it's this funny thing about the Manhattan Beach Open is that anybody can go to the qualifier, right?
Okay.
And so that was a funny thing where Paul put in there, is he put Al Skates, and I forget who's playing with Al, as a qualifier team, and they're just talking crap to these young kids, you know. Wow. And that really does happen.
Oh, I almost was a victim of that. We got to shout out the late great Masui Allen, who actually trained me the summer of 2010 to try to make it on the beach, and he was an incredible athlete and an incredible man, and I just want to drop his name as well, because he is a guy who's been around the program forever. But what a amazing history.
Oh yeah, Sui's incredible. But so he's the only one that didn't become an Olympian. He's also holds the all-time kill record for UCLA. So technically he was their worst player. Come on. Kevin Long, Olympian, Nygaard, 3-time captain of the U.S. team.
Stein Metzger was on back then too.
Stein Metzger, a beach Olympian. The other guy that kind of sucked, the gold medal coach, John Spara. You just keep going. Sullivan, U.S. team. You know, it just keeps going and going. It's a ridiculous team. It was an amazing era to play in. And you if you wanted to compete with those guys, it just took everything you had in terms of training and weight training. We had the great Curtis Cerruta. Okay. The background of those rock star teams was the strength and conditioning guru, Curtis Cerruta. Okay. We called him Asian Yoda. And he was so funny. He was this small Asian guy with a Texas drawl. We didn't know what to make of him. And as soon as he started training us, we started I went from touching 11.4 to 11.8 in a year and a half.
Wow.
You're supposed to, the Olympic team, if you looked at the Olympic team jump recordings, once guys got into the Olympic thing, like even you were looking at Karch's jumps and all this kind of stuff, it was like they would go up two a year, and they'd usually top out at 4. So in other words, they would like maybe go from 11 to 11.4, 11.2 to 11.5, something like that within a 3-year or 4-year span. I went from 11.4, and I'll never forget these camera guys came in. We were playing some big match, and there weren't usually cameras at our practices over the years, you know. In 95, you just had to say, look, shit's done changed, you know, because there was cameras all the time. And so they came in, and there was a jump tester there. I don't even know why. There was a Verta machine. And they were like, hey, Jason, you know, can we see how you can jump? And I'm like, sure, you know, and went up and touched like 11.2, and no, that's not going to work. Hold on. And went up and touched like 11.4. And I was like, that was good because that's what I touched, right? I mean, that, that's where and I go, hold on, because I realized I had so much more left, right? And I went up and touched 11.8, and I was like, whoa, right? And that was when it sunk in how much all that hard work, the right way, of course, with the techniques and stuff Curtis had taught us, the plyometrics, right? This was when the beginning of plyometrics being really super important. Yoga, right? We had yoga. We had Troy Holt's mom was a yoga teacher, and we went and played on the Big Island, and he was like, okay, everybody's got to do yoga. We were like, what the hell? Okay.
Really?
Right.
That is fascinating. Wow.
Yeah. Yoga changed everything. Yoga allowed, by lengthening the body, it allowed all the explosive power, you know, to express itself. So that was huge. You know, that team was in the weight room nonstop. That team worked hard, worked really hard. You know.
Well, that team, like you said, got a little short of the national championship, but you got your goal as All-American, and you leave UH with a degree and move on, and you know, just talk about how life kind of expanded from there for you.
Yeah, well, you know, basically I was at the top of the fashion world, and going, and you know, I would go and do Paris, Milan, and like Germany was interesting because sometimes you do the German shows in Germany, but sometimes you do them elsewhere, Hong Kong, anyway, Paris, New York, Milan, Paris, New York, the main 3, but then you know, kind of do Tokyo, Hong Kong, Germany, sometimes depending, Spain also. So you would just kind of do this whole circuit. It's like a traveling circus, right? Everybody would go, all the magazines, all the models, you know, the designers, and you would just kind of go on this circuit around the world. Winters, I think, was in Miami, South Beach, right? And just working. So, you know, it was interesting for me because I was always kind of blinders on, you know, in terms of school and sports. and I never really took the pedal off the gas in a sense, you know. I mean, look.
Yeah, you seem to have a very high level of emotional maturity for a kid. I mean, or for a college kid. I mean, that's what I struggled the most with. I mean, decision making and just the mental aspect of the game is so important. But I don't know if that's something that was ingrained by you, by your parents or coaches, or what that was. But you had to make decisions, like meaty decisions, pretty early on in your life.
Yeah, I was. You know, I think, you know, I try to work on it with myself, and I try to work on it with my daughter now, because I think my parents were very empowering in terms of me making my own decisions all my life since I was a kid, to the point of being derelict parents. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could you tell me at least?
Sounds like my parents. Sounds like my parents.
Yeah, like, could you just give me some guidance? Like, could you, Wayne, there's so many of those decisions that I wish I would have made the other decision. I mean, you know, you learn, and you're like, that's the road, and I've learned, and I've become, like, I'm happy with the person who I am today, but damn, couldn't you have just said go left there? Like, you know, I mean, so yeah, you know, they really were. I mean, but it's almost like I just really had no guidance. I was trying to make the right decisions and balance everything. Look, there was a large part of me. I remember Mike Cantor, who I played in high school with, and then he also played with me in UH. There was a large part of the decision to do fashion. I'll tell you, I've never shared this before, but I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up Wilshire and near the street called La Brea. And at the time, La Brea was transforming. All of LA was transforming.
Yeah. You're right in city.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody loves to call living now. Yeah, that's all trendy now for sure.
Yeah. And La Brea was one of those streets that was kind of transforming to this like kind of older, you know, up farther was like the Jewish area, kind of Orthodox and whatnot, near Fairfax. And
the diner.
And then, the diner, you know, it was just kind of old, but it was starting to get trendy. And one of the first things that came in was this really cool coffee shop. This is way before Starbucks, right? And it was like hip people would hang out. And because I had this little whiff of the fashion scene, just a whiff of it, I knew about these places now. Okay. And so I go, Mike, meet me here. Mike meets me. And he's like, dude, fucking ass. I go, I know, man, but there's places like this all over the world, man. It's crazy. Like, you know, and so I go, dude, so I'm about to become like a really famous supermodel. And he goes, get the fuck out of here. I go, no, man. It's like, it's gonna happen, and I gotta ask your advice, like, cause I got some serious decisions that I have to make, and I gotta make them right now. And so we have this conversation because Mike and I knew, I mean, we went to prom together or whatever it was, winter dance or whatever. We did everything together, man. We trained together. We played on the beach together, and he was always a really level-headed guy. And I remember I told him, he goes, well, why? Like, why you? I go, well, you know, I'm gonna.
Sounds like my face.
Yeah. And I said, Mike, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think a little bit of it is because they want to have diversity, but I'm kind of like mixed diversity, you know?
Yep. I know well.
And, you know, I'm just kind of getting anointed to this spot. And the rest I don't have any control of, just born the way I'm born, whatever. And, you know, I was conscious of that. I was conscious of the cultural aspect and the importance of it, because there have been some bigger black models and guys who became world famous. Jaimin Hussein, right? Oscar winner, and Adewale were probably the two biggest black models ever. But they weren't put in campaigns like that. They were famous because, like, photographers were just fascinated by, you know, this beautiful physique and this very African features, right? But what people have to understand, Wayne, is that that has always been a thing in fashion. So like Vogue, which I can't stand, it's like, ugh, and I've been very close with it, traveled with Leon Talley for a long time, but I just lost all respect so many decades ago for that magazine because Anna Wintour, everyone thinks is amazing. I just not on board, right? Because with her, you would see like this thing of when people talk about like institutionalized racism and how does that start and culture and what's beautiful and not beautiful. For these people, it's beautiful if it's exotic, right? If I can tell that that person is from Africa and is like exotic, okay, you know, I'll deal with it. But show me the number of African American women on Vogue covers and you're down to like
a couple,
right? One time I'm going to go back to my story, but I just want to explain the extent of this because I've said some things that might be incendiary right now, but I want you to explain. This is because I was there, okay? I was there with Naomi in Paris with tears coming down her face at 2 a.m. because Vogue had just come out and they promised her the cover and it was going to be a big deal that they're going to put a black girl on the cover. And they reneged for whatever reason. And that was the first Vogue that ever came out with 2 covers, a front cover with a white girl, might've been Kate Moss, I don't know, and a back cover with Naomi. And you could flip the magazine over and read it backwards, or you could flip it and read it the right way because the whole magazine was like cut in half and reversed.
Yeah, so but whatever they display, I guess.
Stands, she was on the back. She was on the back.
Exactly. Wow.
And she's just in tears. And I'm there with Karl Lagerfeld and Andre Talley. And Andre Talley is, of course, always associated with Vogue. Now,
okay, if anybody's watching, don't know these names, he's literally saying the who's who of the most famous fashion photographers of all time, basically, up there.
Biggest designer in the world, right? And Andre, the biggest fashion guru in the world. And Naomi, greatest supermodel ever. And so this was going to change that to that extent that it was going to be like an American black guy, right? And so I felt a responsibility, right, also to go to this. So at the same time, I felt a responsibility for my sports, and I had these goals, and I had this thing of being an All-American that for whatever reason I just could not live without achieving. I also felt like, hey, this is the first time in history that this kind of beauty has been represented, right? And one of the big things, what it really hit me was when the Calvin Klein campaign released, which is one of the bigger ones I did for sure, shot by Avedon, released all over the world, and I started getting mail from South Africa, right? And I actually got invited to meet
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, sorry, thank you, in South Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't take the trip.
Oh.
Yeah, I could have used my parents on that one.
Wow.
But the reason was that people had never seen a black person on a billboard in South Africa.
Wow.
But because it was Calvin Klein, of course it was going on a billboard.
Wow.
And I was the guy.
That's
so
amazing.
there were
the politics of post-apartheid times in South Africa and
100%. The reason I didn't go was, it's funny, is that Naomi involved again, was because I had watched this film about these girls going to South Africa and asking people for like diamond rings and stuff. I was like, girl, that's like going to Alabama in 1700s and asking for a cotton sweater. Like, what's wrong with you? And I felt like I was going to be able to meet Mandela under different terms. I felt at the time. And I was like, if I go, I want to go with a different cohort. That was a stupid decision. Really dumb decision. Really dumb decision.
Oh, these are great stories. Bradley says these are great stories. I had no idea. And I think a lot of your traveling too, because a lot of the people that watch the show are into traveling, following the team. But for you, you've been to so many cities, continents. What is one of your favorite places to travel? Bradley is asking.
Greece. I call them my white Hawaiians, man. Those are my white Hawaiians. That's what I call them. It's like when you go to Greece, it's like the people, like the life. It's like you're in Hawaii.
Wow.
It's so cool. Like, don't get me wrong. There's no match for the Hawaiian people, period. But that's as close as you're going to get. And the water is actually a little clearer. it's you can't imagine. Like, it's kind of like the Hawaiian language where there's something like 20 different words for blue in Greek. It's some ridiculous number, but it all has to do with like the water, and the people are so amazing. I had a dear friend, kind of almost like, my second mom, dear friend, Calliope Gregoria. She's, it's so funny because people see us on Facebook and they're like, how can you get along with this person? Because we could not be more separate. I'm like, well, because I know who she is, the most beautiful hearts in the world. I mean, just as long as she doesn't vote, I'm fine. No, but she's the greatest photographer that ever lived in Greece. Amazing. She was such a mentor to me. Actually flew to Hawaii and shot me in Hawaii for, I think it was Vogue Bambini that year, like 94, 95. That's how we met. And just close friends ever since. And my good friend Mano Gavras lives out there. But I love Greece. My wife is from Italy. I love Italy. But I would say Greece. I love Paris. I lived in Paris for a while. Like, I would go during the summers and go to Paris and then come back like to school. And I lived on Rue des Abbesses. I was a literature guy, right? I was always into literature, and Rue des Abbesses is where all the expatriate writers used to live, like Hemingway, Henry Miller, all those guys. And so I love living up there. That's crazy. It's Montmartre, right? So you have at the bottom, you have Moulin Rouge, right? Basically the world's most famous strip club. And then at the top, you have the church.
The basilica. Everybody's selling beer and stuff to you outside on the steps.
And then at the so it's like you got heaven, you got hell, and in between all the artists lived on this street called Rue des Abbesses. So I love that, man. The time in Paris was just insane. It was really, really great.
Well, it seems like, all your life experiences have definitely shaped, Jason Aldev of today, and the life of being a father, of being a coach. But I think now is like seeing where your life has gone, and we'll talk about some of maybe your goals moving forward now as well.
Yeah, well, I'm a person that loves like TV and film because I just love the work, right? And so, that's something that's always there, something that I'm always working on, something that I'm, always trying to get better at. And, I've been blessed with the opportunities I have, and always still looking for opportunities. I created my first TV show, wrote, direct, produced, acted in with a very great friend of mine, Kent Falcone. We were on a Tyler Perry show for about 5-6 seasons together. So we created this show called Brothers-in-Law, which is about two Black lawyers living in LA, love law in LA. And it's kind of comedy, but it takes on some serious topics, right, through the lens of comedy. So that is, my big project right now for that. But COVID, right? COVID hit, everything shut down. Right when we were actually getting our pilot out of post, everything shut down. And so what didn't shut down was coaching. And so we actually went from like 2 teams to 4 teams to now there's 4 teams and another 25 kids. There's like 92 kids in the club right now. And I am so into it and so passionate that sometimes I have to have, who's coaching for me? People will know this name, but Kamalu. Makaka Whitaker, she's from the Big Island. She trained. I always give her a hard time because she literally only trained under Olympians. She trained under Kevin Wong, and then she went to play for Stork at UC Northridge.
Wow.
And so she just got done. One of the best setters I've ever seen. I went to watch UH. UH actually came and trained in my high school gym, which is awesome. I love what's going on with that team. I love Robin Amo and what she brings to Hawaii Wahine volleyball. I'm just so glad it's her. She's going to bring that. She's going to bring it all back. That's a great team she's got there. Lundquist, everybody. But
you're going to be supplying
I went and watched them play.
Yeah. I just said you're going to be supplying some of this talent. I'm assuming.
That's the goal. Oh no, that's like on the board. Like that is written down. You know. I gotta tell you, we got one of the best liberos in the nation. She's incredible, Pauline Lau. She's incredible. Anyway, so I went and watched them play. But she's coaching for us, which is just such a godsend. She is so good. She took this in 2 tournaments. She took this team up 6 divisions. It's crazy, and they're so good. They're just 12s, and then she's got the little ones who are 10. They're just amazing. So that is, kept us sane. It really kept us sane. Yeah. But finishing what I was saying is like sometimes I have to say, hey, Kamala, can you take my team? Oh, yeah, why? What's going on? Well, I'm too much. Like I know, like I have to pull myself away from the team because I'm just like they can't take any more of me, and I don't blame them. So you got to take them for a couple practices because I'm just too passionate about it, man.
I like that.
I start crying. The girls are like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Because this is the game, man. Like you can't." You just can't do that. Or most of the time, it's honestly like when I start tearing up, it's like really great stuff. I'm like, oh my God, you just, oh my God, It's like, so they're always laughing at me, man. I get super passionate about it, and so that's been great, man, because I really turned off from the sport for many years. Kind of had these lost years, and kind of at the end I was kind of trying to extricate myself from fashion, because here's the thing, right? There's what everybody sees, and sure, that's cool, and like you're on the buildings and and maybe if my ego could get fuller of that stuff, maybe that would be cool. Maybe I wish it would, but it just doesn't, right? And so what I was looking at is like, look, this is a job with a glass ceiling is all I'm looking at. Like you're not like this job has a shelf life to it. It's not like I've been working, on, my, building my real estate career or something, that you can still do when you're 60, right? And so when I went, like going back to my last game in college, which that whole situation, look, it didn't end well. I was glad we got to the Final Four, but when we lost that game, I was done. Like you can look at the 3rd place game. I think I get pulled the second game. I was like done. I was like, I'm out. I'm just done. Everything was in. Like I just wanted to play UCLA again. When that didn't happen, I kind of just imploded. I was just done, and I was not happy. I was not happy with the sport. I wasn't happy. I didn't have any support within the sport really anymore. And I was just like, I'm going to just go. I'm just going to get on a plane and I'm going to go live this other life because I can. Yeah. And, again, wish my dad would have said something like, dude, you're pretty good. You should probably just go play pro in Italy and do this on the side. Right. Which is what I tell all the younger guys. Like I remember great player, Brooke Billings. I'm thinking about quitting. I'm like, dude, I will choke you. I will. I'm not even kidding. Like I will right now. I will physically choke you if you tell me like you're going to stop playing volleyball because you want to go chase some whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. He gets to go to the Olympics, all that stuff. You make the right decision, but that's what it's about. You got to use your experiences to help the people behind you. So, for me, all of this stuff leading into finding my love through the sport again, through my daughter. And, I drive a hole through her head with it, but because I'm completely addicted, once I get back in, it's ridiculous. I got to watch myself, but, yeah, I mean, come on, I'm up till like 2 in the morning sending rotations for 13-year-olds. Who does that? Like that's
probably very
me.
few people.
True volley nerds. True story. The other day, and this is the day before we're going in, we're ranked number 5 in California, right? And the PVL is the power league in California. It's just ridiculous right now. These kids are so good. Like there's 8 teams that just smash each other every tournament, right? And so this is we're doing a walkthrough the Saturday before, right? This is just last week. I'm at 2:30 in the morning. I hit send on an email, just making sure everybody has the paper version of the rotations, right? Practice the next day, 5:30 p.m. the next day, we're doing our walkthrough. Middle blocker, who, look, she hasn't been the most aware. She's going to start for the first time to us. I've already have issues with her, but she's starting, and she starts going, Coach, where am I supposed to be? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We've done this for 2 months. Like, what is wrong? And like, she's like, I'm just going to stop talking. And I go, okay, come on, guys, let's go. And then 2 minutes later, another girl who never has any issues, right? Like on it. Coach, but should I be here? Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, Coach, this is not the lineup that we've been practicing for the last 2 months. I'll go, it's not? No, you sent the email and my mom said it was pretty late. And maybe it's the wrong lineup. And I look and it's all wrong.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's when you forgot to cut yourself off. 1 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
12
You gotta cut yourself off.
Yeah.
And you know, but hey, I always tell my kids, if your coach isn't man enough or woman enough to apologize to you, you're in the wrong place. Right? So everything can be a learning point. Like, listen, I make mistakes. This was a huge mistake. I am sorry. We got another half hour. Let's get back to where we were, you know? But in that way, all this stuff, man, being able to teach these kids, learning from them in situations like that, I mean, it's literally kept me sane all COVID. There's I mean, you know, theatrical stuff is just starting to get back to work, right? Of course. And let me tell you, everything is a video read. Like, you have to do the reading. I mean, we're all joking. We're like, you want me to shoot the whole film for you? I mean, you want me to put 10, I have to have perfect lighting, perfect, and it's 10 pages of material.
Well, you know, you talked about your dad. I had to have my dad read with me for Dynasty. And there was a part where a guy takes this dude from the bar to the back and they start making out. So if you have any awkward moments to have to audition.
Okay. I have not had one that bad. You get the lay for that one. I mean, that is the worst I've ever heard.
It was so awkward.
I was just about to say, how many characters can my wife play? She is the most well-rounded actress I've ever met. I mean, you know, she's been a 300-pound bouncer. She's been she's been a 5-year-old kid. She's been everybody. Yeah. No, it's true. So it's just brutal, right?
Yeah, so you gotta have that support. Your wife has
keeping us sane.
Yeah. She's had to put in you those readers, you know, they expect you. It's just a different world, as we know, for COVID. But, you know, it's been amazing and inspiring to see just your work, just all that you've accomplished in your life. But of course, everybody's gonna, you know, always associate Jason Olive with Hawaii, because we love to keep all the people that played for us and that we love to claim them. But what are your final shout outs or Hawaii memories or people you might want to shout out from your time at UH?
Well, listen, you know, I always have such a deep love for Coach Alan Rosehill and for Coach Crabb for giving me that opportunity. You know, and then, you know, like, you know, I've mentioned them, I know, a few times, but that team, man, in like, one time I got to play against Alan. We went to Samoa. I used to, I didn't know this. I had forgot this, but Alan told me, this was just like, I don't know, maybe within the last year, he was like, no, man, don't you remember you used to be the ball boy at the World League? Like, there was like this World League that he was playing in. They used to play at the Forum here. And I was like, no, I actually don't. Like, I so vaguely remember, but it does sound like me, like just trying to get close to these guys. He goes, yeah, you used to just sit there and stare at us. You know, man, and you know, getting just, I don't know, man, just, it's all about that brotherhood and Hawaii, I just found a place I belong. Those group of guys like Rico Guilmares, who was my senior in Hawaii. He's actually going to come do a clinic with us. He's been training U.S. gold medalist beach teams forever at this point. And Prescio, coached Pepperdine to being something and several national championships. He's just always been there with them. The tree, what a really cool part of the tree was that I didn't realize was, I saw that Pitt had upset. Who did they upset?
Yeah.
They upset somebody. But then I'm looking, Utah. And I had watched Utah play USC and UCLA, and Utah was very good, right? They were one of the top seeds coming in. And then I look and it says Coach Fisher. I'm like, there's only one Fisher. There's only one Fish. And I look and I go, oh my God, it's Fish, who had come to UH my last year. And, I never talked to Fish that, there was a big disparity between the top of the roster and the bottom. And I was a senior and I was living off campus and doing my very own thing. But he was always such an amazing guy, such a great guy. And, seeing that, and then he came back and coached at UH, I think, for a little while. But, seeing him go and have all this, great coaching success, I mean, that's real success. That's collegiate success. When you can take a program that really, hasn't done a whole lot and then all of a sudden you're beating a team like Utah, that's building a program. Soji built a program. Rose Hill built a program. There's these certain coaches that, they just Dumphy, these guys that built the collegiate programs that, every single one of them meant so much to me because I was either a huge admirer like Al Skates or I just wanted to kill him because they didn't recruit me like Preston at UCSB. I was like, I spent all that money on
I remember Al.
You took that guy? Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm going to smash you.
That's right. I mean, you got to use that as motivation, right? Well, Al Skates, I heard, too, would take guys just to stockpile of them, just to have, like,
yes, that's why I didn't go. That's why I didn't go. I wasn't going anywhere that said they didn't have money. I wasn't going, right? Yeah. So, because, I knew that I needed some work on my game. And so, Hawaii gave me that opportunity, man. And I just wanted to play for a top-tier program. And like I said, see, that's the thing. Because they didn't get to that post-game they didn't get to do the post-tournament, the postseason tournament, people don't understand the level of volleyball that UH team was playing. That was some of the greatest volleyball you ever seen in your life. So you talk about entertaining and fast and fun and crazy. I mean, the first play I saw was Lyman, like Damian turned to play a ball behind him, which you're never supposed to do. And then dove over the guy, and then Lyman slid on his knees to the left side and set a red from his knees. I just like, oh my, give me the papers. Oh my God. That was, I want to do that, I want to do that. And I would like to see, UH bring some of that stuff back. Where's the slide?
Yeah.
Like, how can you not hit a slide?
I love hitting slides. You don't see them at all ever. And even the men's game, I feel like in general, I haven't seen too many in the men's game. But, it's all about hitting bigs, hitting on the back row, and being fancy.
Wait. Okay, before we get off this, I know we probably talk way too long because I talk too much. I don't care. Oh,
no, you can talk as long as you want. But
So look, this is we got to get this straight. Because I just went through this with a pro women's player, middle block.
Okay.
I said, we were joking. She's actually in my TV show too. She's great, Kristen Overton. And so I said, why don't you be the first woman to hit a front slide? She goes, we hit slides all the time. And she sends me the video, and it's the 3-step, what used to be called a G. Okay, that used to be called a G.
Yeah.
I still don't know why, but G, boom, right? 3 steps. I go, no, that's not a slide. That's called a slide now, but that's not what the original slide was. The slide goes right to left across the center. Oh, you mean a push? No, it's not a push, right? A push is like a push one, right? That's not a push because the hitter is not sliding. The hitter's still coming like straight on for the most part. Okay. But we hit a slide. a real slide. And a front slide goes right across. So you're jumping, you're taking off parallel with the setter, and you're jumping past them as far as you could go. Now, if you got some hops, that could be a good 4 or 5 feet. And that's when it becomes devastating, because you're in the air before the ball's in the air, but you're traveling laterally to the net, right? And you can run it front and you can run it back. And I think that what's happened with the game is that it's almost like volleyball is so like nepotistic and insular that it's almost like the game agrees to things. Like, okay, now we're going to agree that the offenses are going to look like this, or now we're going to agree that this is on trend or something like that. And the problem is that they don't look at what the fundamental principle of winning a volleyball game is, right? Which is making the other team miss the ball. That's the only thing you can do that will make you win every game, is make the other team miss the ball. How do you do that? Well, you have to imbalance them, right? So a slide is incredible in terms of creating an imbalance, because you either travel with it or it's over. There's no gray area. There's no gray area. You can't hot block a slide, right? You can't soft block a slide. You're either up on it as a defender or it's over. And that's one of the things that was so successful with that 95 team, when you have a hitter like UV that you cannot block him one-on-one. A slide forces you to pick your poison. It forces you to, even more than a 3, because at a 3 a guy is already out there, you see where he's coming from. But with the slide, you have no idea whether the guy is hitting a 1 or a slide, right? So it's really devastating when you have a guy that can hit a D like UV or like Rado, right?
Great set.
So I don't, fun set. And that's the stuff that I geek out on.
Well, we love geeking out with you. We're just,
Wayne, I told you.
I know. We can get you started, but we're gonna have to bring you on again, I feel like, because we've just experienced just the beginning of what a crazy story it's been for, or a journey it's been for you. And I know this is just the beginning. There's so much left down the pipe for Jason Olive as well. But I just want to thank you for joining us, and mahalo to your family as well for allowing us to steal you away for a little while tonight.
Hey, well, thank you guys. Always lead with love. Always keep it 100. Remember where you came from. Remember where you're going.
Mahalo, Jason. Mahalo for joining us, and we'll definitely stay in touch with you, and hopefully have you again on soon. Aloha.
Hey, thanks, Wayne. Respect, bro. Thank you.
That was Jason Olive. He is All-American. He is an actor, a supermodel, and we hope that he continues to stay close to all of us in Hawaii, because you know how much we love to claim our superstars, our rock stars of yesteryear as well as today. So Hawaii men's volleyball on the way to the NCAA Championships next year in next week, Columbus, Ohio. We already have to wait over a year for this game. We're finally gonna be there. Hawaii in their first match. We'll see who they play, but next week Thursday, our next week Wednesday show will be live from Columbus, Ohio. So pay attention. Sorry, my camera already died because, we just had too much fun tonight. We'll talk to you guys later. Aloha.